In today's panel to talk more about this, former special assistant to President Trump, Kelly Sadler. Also with us, Democratic strategist and former Obama advisor, Lori Watkins. Thank you both for being here. Great to see you today. Kelly, first to you. I mean, this is what they talk about, the sausage being made, but, you know, Americans don't want to see the sausage being made when people's lives are on the line here. How do you think this is ultimately going to play out? Is there going to be a compromise?
Well, I certainly hope that there's going to be a compromise, and I hope has nothing to do with Nancy Pelosi's proposed bill. Senator Schumer and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin were at the finish line on Sunday until Nancy Pelosi came in with this grab bag of proposals, this Democratic wish list that has nothing to do with coronavirus. This stimulus package needs to get passed as soon as possible because every day it doesn't. There are more and more small businesses that are going to have to put up with a tough choice of closing their doors, maybe permanently, and laying off their employees. And what we need for the economy right now is for these small businesses to get the loans that they need so they're able to cover payroll, that they're able to cover their rent, that they're able to kind of sustain this shutdown for as long as they can without forcing their employees off the payroll.
Lori, what's your response to that? I mean, Nancy Pelosi is getting a lot of flack for these items in the bill, but, you know, as an American, how does one justify giving more power to government employee unions, things like a $15 minimum wage, things that you know, as a Democrat, are very contentious and will delay this process even longer?
So the most latest update was Nancy Pelosi was just being interviewed on MSNBC about 2 minutes ago, and where they are right now in the Senate, she just laid out exactly where they are. So I'll give you a quick update. This is now. This isn't last night. This isn't earlier this morning. It's right now. So relief for the healthcare workers, that's number one. As far as funding for the hospitals, getting them equipment. Money for small businesses is in there. And I'm saying this as this is the speaker saying that she agrees with where the Senate is right now.
She's saying this stuff, but is the other stuff in there too?
Hold on. Money for state and local governments, money for families that meet the unemployment insurance now up to 4 months. Before in the Senate and the Republicans version, it did not have that at all. So
no, it did. It did add 3 months.
These are the things, Lori, that are not in question. These are the things that we agree on. But is the other stuff? Are Democrats still pushing for the other stuff?
Are the Democrats still pushing for what, $15 an hour minimum wage?
As part of the coronavirus bill. We know they're pushing for that as a whole, but why does it need to be in the coronavirus bill?
This is for people, for workers, for this duration. It's not unfunded for the rest of time. This is in this bill to relieve workers right now. This is for that money. This is not saying this is legislation that will go until the end of time. This is for right now bringing relief to workers. And if you want to talk about what the Republicans put in the bill, I haven't heard you all mention one time the anti-abortion legislation language that was in there that was immediately stripped out by Democrats. I haven't heard you mention that once. Interesting.
Okay, but Lori, there was a deal, right? No matter this, we're not talking about. There was a deal between Democrats and Republicans in the Senate, and Nancy Pelosi and all these pet projects is what stalled that until today, correct?
No, that's incorrect. The stall has been the Republicans came up with the language, brought it to the Democrats. It was not in agreement because it had bad language that only protected corporations and not families and those workers who are in financial ruins right now because of the uncertainty of what's going on and what's happening in this country.
I don't want this to devolve into one of those arguments we're all calling each other liars here, but Lori, even the Washington Post and the New York Times were reporting yesterday, until they probably got their talking points from higher up, that it was Nancy Pelosi who torpedoed the deal that had been reached by Senate and by Democrats and Republicans in the Senate.
3 minutes ago, before I came on your program, Senate Minority Leader Schumer just said that they're at the 2-yard line.
Yes.
He is very impressed with that. That means they are close to a deal. So to talk about things that have been in the past, I'm talking about right now where they are, the work that they have both done, both chambers, to get to where we are because people are suffering and struggling and they need help now.
Well, we all agree on that aspect. And let's talk about something else I think we can probably agree on. And that's what's become of Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Not the guy he told us he was going to be. He announced he was running for president, of course, and he promised to pay his staff through November, even if they were no longer in the race. We know that's not true. Now his campaign continues to close its offices across the country. Staffers are being let go. They're also being informed they were exposed to coronavirus. Remember that video of Bloomberg licking his The fingers after touching pizza. Anyway, Politico says they're going to keep their campaign issued cell phones and laptops, but that's it, basically. According to NPR, the former New York City mayor is donating $18 million to the Democratic National Committee instead of creating the super PAC to support Democratic presidential candidates or the nominee, as he previously promised. His enormous donation is thanks to what Sean Spicer on Newsmax last night called a giant campaign contribution loophole. Here is Spicer.
That is a massive, massive loophole in campaign finance. The normal limit is $5,600 for a federal candidate, and through a variety of other ways, you can give about $300 plus to a national committee through their legal fund and their building fund, et cetera. But that's it. By Bloomberg using his own money and putting it in a campaign and then transferring it over, this isn't donor excess money left over. This is his personal money. He just drove a truck through campaign finance.
What do you think about this, Lori? I mean, there could be billionaires signing up to run fake presidential campaigns and just using their campaign accounts, donate money to themselves, and then transfer that into another campaign or a super PAC. Does this need to be addressed?
And this is why the Democratic Party and most of Americans are against Citizens United, because there is such unfair practices and money in campaign politics. Oh, you brought it up. The independent expenditure, when this announcement first came out that he was going to put it
Lori,
into
the problem is not Citizens United. The problem is the McCain-Feingold campaign reform law, which created the loophole. Citizens United is just obeying the law that the McCain-Feingold campaign reform law introduced. That's the problem.
Look, I am not supporting Mike Bloomberg, so let's rewind this back. I do not support what Mike Bloomberg did to staff. As a manager of campaign staff and who has worked on multiple presidential races, what he did was absolutely wrong. For anyone to be misled that they are going to be paid until a certain period in time and then to not be, and to take them off the street is just inexcusable. But I will say, I've got a ton of races, state house races here in the state of Florida, that I would be willing, my candidate, to be willing to talk to them to hire them right now.
Okay, good plug. I got to give Kelly the last 20 seconds here to respond.
Well, this is essentially money laundering. It goes against the spirit of the law, that's for sure. It's a massive loophole that needs to be addressed. Sean Spicer was right. This is $18 million is Michael Bloomberg's money. So he set up a campaign, and now he's donating it to the DNC. And I expect you'll see some FEC complaints being filed protesting.
And it becomes more clear, I think, to a lot of people that this was just a vanity play by Mike Bloomberg. He saw an opportunity, he tried to exploit it, and it blew up in his face, and it cost him about $1 billion in the end. Kelly Sadler, Lori Watkins, thank you both. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
We'll be right back.